Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone of you. Uh, we have seen the unit 3. We just seen the concern for others. What is the concern for others, various sufferings, and what is self definition, what is self, and what how you are related to other persons who are dear to you, who are yours near and dear, and who are other persons who are not at all met. You have not at all met them, but you care about them, you are concerned about them. So you just met through accident or something, with a beggar or something. Okay, how you are related to others as well as your loved ones, as well as you as a personality, how you just met with you. So that we have seen the difference between you and the others, how you are related, what the others are wanted, what the needs of you, and how that needs are dependent on others, and what type of needs they also want. We just discuss this one. And the popular two stories of concerns, we just I have just read for you from the textbook, which is Men with Poisonous Heart. And from that, the moral of story is that we have to help each other. Then only a positive growth in a society is possible. Otherwise we will go towards the degradation or destroying our society. So that's the moral of story from the first topic. And the next topic is story of the alien planet. So, one second. Story of the alien planet. From this planet, the moral of the story is humans will have both logic, as well as they will have a clear role in our society. They are created in order to help others as well as help themselves. That's the moral of story from the story 2, which is the story of an alien planet. Then concern, the definitions, various definitions of concern we have seen, and why the concern is very important, what type of demands which are rising due to the concern. So concern is demanded by the human society from the duties whatever we are performing, everybody's ideal duties. And concern is also demanded by the human girl. If you want a happiness in our life, we need to show a concern to others, because we need to remain in harmony with other people who are living in our society. And concern is also demanded by basic contradiction in human life. So every time when you want a love of life, we need a concern. Every time when we don't want a love of life, then we are going towards the craze of death. Towards death stage we are going. So these three demands just want us to show concern for others as well as everybody who are in remaining in harmony with our society, in our society. Then man in society, we have seen this, the various human values. What are the human values, what are the sub values, what we need to adopt from this society in order to live harmoniously in our society. What are the various values and sub values we need to imbibe in us, then only we can remain in harmony with each other. So that's the various value we see. And the various social values, like we need to have a communal harmony. We need to adhere to every religious belief. We need to just consider every religious belief first, then accept that one. Then there is no threat. You have to identify that from the other religion there is no threat to our religion. That's the basic criteria. We need to accept that one first. then only we can remain in harmony with other communities, other religious persons or caste or something. We can be in harmonious with them. When we accept that there is no threat from other peoples, every people wants to remain in harmony, then we can assume that no, every religious aspect is the same. Basic aspect of every religion is to guide us towards the righteous path, to guide us to remain in harmony with others in the society. Then human context. So what is this human context? If you see how we are related to ourselves, that is nothing but a self to self. How we are related to others, how, and then how we are related to the divine thing or the godly thing or the experience of God. We have seen in the previous unit the experience of God, and in this part only we have just seen the self to other, how you are related to yourself with other. Okay, like in the popular stories, the two stories you can relate yourself to other, and at the same time in the story of beggars, okay, when you see the accident which is happened to the beggar, somebody you are showing a concern, that is nothing but how you relate to other self. Then the self to self, okay, it is nothing but your inner personality, your inner true, what are you are going to, your inner self esteem, your ideals, your beliefs, everything composed of yourself. That is how you are related to you and yourself, how you are related. So that's the thing. So then self to others, we have seen this self to others, people who are bonded with each other, they will come very close. People who are in the outer structure of your bonding, so they will be outside of that yourself. So that's the independent view of yourself, independent view of self and interdependent view of self. When you consider everything is interdependent, then every relationship is important. Okay, whether it may be a co-worker or a friend or a close friend or something. Okay, everybody is interdependent. When you assume that everybody is close to you, then everybody is not close to you, everybody remains in the outside of your boundary, then you consider only mother and father or some close friends or our bonded people. Other people are somewhat outer to us, so we will consider based on these facts, we will rate them according to our bonding with them. So that's the self to others, and these are the topics of discussion we have seen. uh, uh, so what is love versus money, and how if a man or a woman just give a first preference to the love, and if he or she gives a first preference to money, what is going to happen? We will discuss this one later. In the human context, we have seen that in the human context, the rural scheme. In the rural scheme, we have seen how the villages are, how we can look at the villages. What is the people's concern towards the villages? How the people in villages will live? What are their conditions? That's we have composed this one, everything. Then the context, human context of slum areas, how the slum areas has been created. So slum areas mainly can be created due to the land thirst of these landowners. Okay, some of the agricultural farmers will lose their land, and because of the thirst of this landowners. At the same time, because of the middleman who is going to procure or purchase their whatever their harvested agricultural feeds are there, everything. They want to just procure at a cheaper prices, then they want that to be sold at a higher prices. Because of this middleman, these agricultural farmers are losing many things. When they are losing everything, they are going towards the urban society. When they are going to work in the urban societies, what will happen with them? They will work largely in the building sections or something. So they will work in the building sections, or for the builders or something, they will work. When they are working there, where do they live? When they left their village, where do they live? In the villages, they will have their own home, their agricultural feed, everything they will have there. But what about when they go to urban villages? What happens to them? Where do they live? Usually they will prefer a small hut, like a small society which is called as a slums. Because of this thirst of the landowners and because of this corruption of this middleman, so the people, the farmers, mainly the farmers are being affected, who are just going to live in the urban society, and there in the urban society for the living, they are just going as a workers, casual laborers, or a contract workers or something. They are just going there, and then they are finding themselves in the slum areas. Those slums, according to the people's view, the slums are nothing but a threat to the society. The people who are living in the slum don't have any goal. Just they are spoiling our cities and everything. The city people who are staying there, they will have the same concern with them. But the reality behind that one is not. They are not a threat for us. They are not happy that they are living in the slums. Okay, they are not at all happy. If the people, if you ask some people in the urban areas, then they will clearly say that if you just give some home or some apartment or something constructed by the government and give them to the slum area people, these people once again sell their apartments and they will live once again, create a new slum nearer to those apartments. Their view will be like that only. But that's not a true. When there is a slum, nobody wants to remain in a slum area. Everybody wants a peaceful life, everybody wants a good life and good health and everything everybody wants. But due to the circumstances which are imposed on by various people like a landlords and various peoples like a middlemen who are procuring their harvest and everything, they are going to lead them, they are going to lead them and they are going to convert them from the agricultural farmers to the slum dwellers. So this is going to happen in our society. So because of these issues only, um, the slums has been originating. So many slums, day by day, many slums are increasing. So when somebody is asking you that why what about the slum, so what is your intention, what are you going to tell about those slum areas, dependent on your particular attitude towards that slum areas. So slums are not at all created by their own. Okay, they are due to the thirst of various other beings only. Slums has been created because of these slums, because of their inability or the social inability or the financial inability only. They are just habituated to live in the slum areas, not by their own. They are living there. So the human context in the urban circles, if you see how the people will live that. So of all the among the three human contexts, like the first one is the village context, and then the slum, and third one is the urban context. Of all this one, the people who are living in the urban circles, they are used to be in enjoyment, they used to be live in some big buildings or apartments or something, they used to live in that one. So as I said in the earlier classes, if you see the basic setup in our country or anything in our universe is nothing but the first villages will start, villages will form, and from villages, village will be located in some mandal. Then these mandals are located in some district, and these districts are in terms located in um, some states, and that states in terms are located in some countries. So that's a clear path that we have when we are living in some urban circles or urban societies. So they usually live in some buildings, a big tall buildings. Then they are habituated to be with various other peoples who are every time busy to make their living conditions, to make their habituation to make this their living conditions very high, as desirable to live in the urban societies. Like the shopping malls you can encounter, like the various facilities like a rail, road, air, every facilities will be there in the urban circles. Whereas if you see the counterpart village circle or the slum areas or something, they don't have a much facilities like a road facility or a rail facility or the air facility. They don't have. Urban area people will have enjoyment. They will enjoy all these facilities, all the services which are offered by the government to them, like a rail, road, air, every facility will be there. But people in the urban society usually live in some insecure region, because they have to go to their work for every day. They have to travel to their work by using some public transport, by a crowded public transport and everything. But the nightlife in the urban areas will be like this. They will go to the pubs or pub culture or something, in the discourse and everything. They will like to enjoy there. So that was the clear scenario which we can differentiate between the various human contexts. The first human context among them is the village circle, where you can see the lack of services, many lack of services like a ride, road, or some proper living conditions will also not be there in the village and the slum areas. But whereas many services are there in the in the urban circuits, like the pubs. They will have a shopping malls. They will have every entertainment, cinema halls, and everything will be there in the urban circles. This is the human context in every urban areas. Everybody remains to be isolation with each other, whereas that's a clear contradictory when you compare that in a villages. Villages, everybody needs to be having in some relationship. They will call their elders using some uncle or some mama or something they will call. But in the urban areas, that's not the case. Okay, everybody wants to remain in some isolated place. And in the drinking water and safe drinking water or a safe hygienic living conditions, everything will be a better. They will the people who are living in the urban areas will have a better amenities like a safe drinking water or hygienic living conditions. Everything will be there for the urban settings, whereas the hygienic conditions and safe drinking water or the purified drinking water, everything will be lacking in the urban, in the village and slum areas. This is the three contexts on which the human are living in the various circles in our society. The three societies are the village, then the slums, and then urban circles. Okay, than a true society. What is a true society? What it needs to be. Now we have seen the many society, the village context we have seen, the slum context we have seen, the facts, what is the originator of the slums, and the facts that what are the facilities, what are the enjoyments they have in these urban areas. We have seen this one. So every human context we have seen. But what about the true society? According to various philosophers, what is the definition of a true society? The true society needs, what is the definition, what is the true definition of a true society? If you see, a true society has unfailing cultivation and men and women of virtue and people of wealth. This is the definition, a basic definition for the true society from the Choral 731. Then a true society has unfailing cultivation. They don't have any lack of facilities or something. Then man and women of virtues and people of wealth, they have their own, on their own, everything they will have a wealth. Wealth means not about a many properties or much needed to eat or something. Okay, wealth means whatever they deserve, whatever they need, everything will be supplied by a God. That's a society which is called as a true society. And a true society is free from fierce famine. So there is no error, there is no flaws in that one. And ravaging epidemics and destruction enemies. There's no enemies for the destruction of our society. Whatever the society is forming, there is no destruction for that one. It's a true society. Then a true society is free from irregular parties, vicious enemies, from within and murderers. Okay, there is no clear deviation. There is no clear distinction between various parties. There is no irregular parties. Everybody will be composed. If you see in the village context, many, as we have seen in the previous classes, many classes in the village context, if you see many castes, many villages or belongs to many castes. Okay, for some for some time being we are discussing this thing. In the village, in many villages, they will consider this one caste belong to that particular village and other caste belongs to that particular village, like that. That is called as a simple homogeneous party, not a heterogeneous peoples are living, various caste peoples are living there. But when there are a homogeneous parties or homogeneous castes are living in our society, that's a clear threat. They will only have their own goal for their own village, but they do not have a goal for overall country or overall other societies, other villages. When you have a heterogeneous composition of various caste people and everything, then it will be a beneficial for the society. So everybody will think about the villages, everybody will think then about the districts, mandals, about the country. Finally they will think about this continent and everything. But when they have a irregular parties like a single caste or something, so they will think about themselves. So that's a clear threat to our society. So a true society has five characteristics. There are five characteristics on which a true society will be dependent. One is the health, wealth, fertility, happiness, and protection of citizens. So, after all seeing the definitions of true society, can you question that whether we are our Indian society is up to the mark about the definition of this true society? Whether the answer is a disturbing one. Why? Because there is no true society as per these definitions. We are not living in a true society. Why? Because we have many distinctions, we have many deviations, we have many homogeneous composition of a single caste living in some particular area, and then other caste is living in some particular area. Like the lower class people usually live far away from the villages, not in the middle of the villages. In the middle of the villages in our India, in the middle of the villages, only the upper caste people will live. There are many villages, yes, they do exist nowadays also, they do exist, but there are modern villages are also there. They are coming up with the modern innovative things. They will have a low caste composed with a high caste also. They will mingle with other castes also. But there are many villages in our society, they exist, they do exist in our Indian society. Because of that, we can say, we can strongly say, we can answer this question that whether we are living in the true society, Indian society is a true society or not. Then we can directly answer that yes, no, it is no, we are not living in a true society. We have to make this is as a true society. That's the clear answer for us. So at this junctures, our human society is said to have a moral problem because of all these various aspects, all this lacking of various characteristics of a true society. Because of this, there is a moral problem in our society. Then what is the moral problem? So moral problem is, if you are seeing somebody has been met with an accident when you are going through the road, then what about your moral values? Whether you are going to call an ambulance, whether you are going to leave him behind like that, what is your moral value? Like that, that moral problem, that type of moral problems will be there in the society, which are imbibed in our society. So to have that moral problem, what are the symptoms? Whether to diagnose that there is a moral problem in our society or not, what are the symptoms? First, we have to look at the symptoms of various moral problems of a society. So the first symptom among them is the social desire, then the social fear, then the social silence and social indifference. What are these symptoms? So these are the two symptoms which are just imbibed in our people who are living in our society. Because of this only, we have a moral problem. We are not at all morally correct. We are not living according to our morals. Because of this symptoms, all these symptoms are nothing but social desire. Then what is this social desire? So once if you ask somebody, how much money do you want, or how much property do you want? So everybody wants me. I want this much property. When he met that property, I want one building. I want for the living. I want 1 lakh for the living. But when he has achieved that one property on his name, and when he has achieved 1 lakh bank balance as his money in his account, then at that point of time, when you ask that person how much more do you want, then he will immediately set its goals to the 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, and the next property, and the next to next property. Every time, what the human wants is more and more, more, more. Every time he wants a more. That is nothing but a social desire. And more people are feverish in getting more and more things to satisfy themselves. So humans does not satisfy themselves whatever they are having with. So they will just want more and more. Therefore, they work for the more and more money. It creates a vicious circle. So it will like a clear circle, vicious circle we'll call that one. So every time at some point in time you ask that one, they will define their goal is next to earn this many lakhs. But at that point of time, when you ask them the same thing, the same reply you will get. I want now I have satisfied with this one. This dialogue nobody will tell you. Okay, everybody wants more and more. So this imbalanced rates for things and objects, or to have abnormal relationship with a male or female, may be called social desire. So not only money or the property, people used to have a relationship with various people, or we can say extramarital affairs or something. So this is also a social desire. Okay, people want to live with more than one man or woman. A woman wants to live with a man, or a man wants to live with more than one woman. So like this is also comes under the social desire. If you suppress this type of desire, social desires, if you just control your own desire, so there will be a no imbalance in our race. There will be a no imbalance in our society. Then everybody will get what they want. Everybody's need can be met, but not a greed. Okay, so because of this is one type of symptom. When there is a social desire, more and more desire in our part of the society, in our people who are living in our society, then we can say that yes, this symptom is existing, social desire. Yes, there's a moral problem in our society, we can say that. So structures to satisfy these desires. What are the structures which are responsible to satisfy these desires? So human desire and a social system to experience love. Okay, if you want love in your life, then you can establish your own family. That's a true structure to satisfy your desire for love. So if you want a material thing, so you want to earn more. Okay, at some point in time you have to satisfy with that, otherwise you will have an unfulfilled life. So next you will go to the next and next achievement and next achievement. Like this you will have an unfulfilled life. Whatever you have, you must be satisfied with that one. So you should plan your economy in such a way that you should be remaining happy, you should be controllable in your desire for the material things. Then for a position and authority, for the position and authority, people will usually look over civil society or some IAS, IPS, or some politician or something. They will do that one. If you can't control that, what you want, what position, what authority, you just remember that whatever the position or whatever the authority is there, that authority and that position will comes you with a great responsibility. Okay, whether you are remembering this responsibility or not, uh, that is up to your sense, up to your common sense, that is. But people usually who are at the higher position or a higher authoritative position, they will usually neglect the responsibility. So you should not be like that. So when some authority is coming to you, it is also a responsibility is also equal responsibility is also coming to you. So you have to remember that one. There is the authority, then there is a responsibility also. First you have to take responsibility, then you can take authority. But first have you accepted the authority, then automatically a attitude of arrogance will be developed inside you, a attitude of yes, I have achieved this one. Okay, yes, I am the boss or something like this. Bossy attitude will be developed into you. So that's the evil thing, that's the evil thing. You have to observe that one. Then for knowledge and skills, so if you want more knowledge and skills, you need to prefer for the education. But at one point in time you have to stop that one also. But we need a lifelong learning. But obtaining a degree and everything, there must be some ending for that one. So you have to earn more and more. Then to worship, we have a religious things. We have our own religion, you have our own practices and everything. When that practices leads towards the destruction, you have to just control that practice also. If you see some religious people will act again as some other religious people, so that's a not good, not a good thing. So you have to stop when religious is suggesting towards the destruction of other religions, towards the destruction of other society. So that's not a true religion. True religion is everything. Every religion will say to remain in harmony, not to destruct the other religions. Okay, that's you need to consider that one. So these are the threat. These are the symptoms. That from these symptoms we can clearly say that yes, if you have a social desire, this is a symptom that is leading towards the moral problem for us. Then the next symptom is a social fear. Then the social fear, what is this social fear? Whenever many scholars in and around the world is just working, many scholars in and around the world is just working to just list out what are the social fears, what are the social desires and everything. When there is a popular saying that when some scholar in the Gandhian philosophies, when some young man has been approached and questioned them, uh, question them what is a social fear. So you yeah. So the biggest trouble in our society is nothing but a fear. And the biggest society of our Indian culture is also a social fear. People used to bully many of the citizens that some fears they will have. That fears people will use their strong point, their weakness. On their weakness, they will just act. So that type of society, when we have that type of society, our growth will be in a stagnant region. Our growth is not at all coming. So when most of the people in a society are individually afraid of thinking and acting as human beings, there is a social fear. So that's the definition what the social fear means. Nothing but when you just afraid of to act as a human being. Okay, whatever you want to tell, whatever you want to approach or something. So when you are hesitating to act like as a human being, then there we can call it as a social fear is there. So it is the absence of social courage. When you don't have a courage, then you have a fear. So that's the social fear and social courage. Then our Indians, okay, our Indians are mainly they are afraid of seeing the harsh reality. Okay, yes, there is economic problem, or as there is some social problem, there is some religious harmonious problem or something. So we will not accept the reality. Okay, we will just see everything is going as usual. Okay, everything remains to be in normal setup. Okay, when something is disturbed, we will be just afraid of that thing. So that's we are lacking behind. First we have to accept the reality. When you have certain weak points, you have to accept that yes, I do have that weak point. So that belongs to your own personality. But overall, when you see in our Indian culture, we don't have that type of guts or that type of courage to accept our sad reality. Whatever the reality is there, we need to accept that one. So our Indians are afraid of hearing the painful situation of the suffering human being. When somebody wants to just discuss about their sufferings, okay, we don't want to listen them. When we are undergoing through that same suffering, we want to share with somebody else. But the same time, when you are neglecting to hear somebody other's suffering, it's the same thing will be going to happen to you. That's called a karma. So you need to hear what are their pains, what are they are going to, what type of situation they are experiencing. Who knows that situation might be coming to you next. Who knows that suffering is might be going to come to you next. Then you have to be a good listener. Okay, first listen to them, what they are saying, what the painful situation they are going, because you might not help them by listening to that. You might not help them, you may not help them, you cannot be. Okay, but when you are listening to them, you are paying attention towards their sufferings. Yes, they suffer, there is a suffering, you can understand from that one, you can take some lessons from them, you can just console them. So that's the thing they are expecting. When somebody is saying about their painful situation, they are expecting a condolence from you. They are expecting some consolence from you. But instead of that, you don't want to listen to that one. So that's our sad reality about that. Then Indians are afraid of reflecting on the different aspects of the problem. So when there is a problem, we usually neglect that problem. We usually just wind up that problem. Yes, this is we will clearly judge that this problem is coming from this one. We don't have a different reflections. We don't look the problem in different angles. When you just turn the problem in a different angles, you come to know the truth behind that problem. When there is a truth behind that problem, you know that truth, you can solve that problem easy. But we don't have that courage to accept or to reflect the problem in different aspects or different ways, in the different angles. We cannot see that problem. That's our problem. Then the Indians are afraid of speaking aloud, mentioning them. So whenever if I call you with some name in the class, so usually we will feel that why the sir has been calling with my name, what I have done. But maybe they are calling with some separate other things in your mind. You had on when somebody is calling you publicly means maybe you don't have to you're not committed any wrong or any crime. Maybe they are calling with some positive sense or not. But that positive sense nobody will take immediately. They will just be afraid of mentioning their name in the open public. Then Indians are afraid of asking why this situation. So whenever there is a problem, okay, instead of neglecting that, we should question that why this situation has been come, why this problem has been come, what are the various ways to solve. Before solving that, we need to ask the question why this problem has been originated, where is the origin of this problem. So okay, how can we solve that one is the next step. That Indians are afraid of doing something within the capacity of the person to change the situation. So to change the situation when there is a problem, when there is a problem in our society, we do accept. If we accept also that error or some problem, that if we have a capacity also, we are not at all. We are reluctant to solve that problem because we are afraid of solving that problem. How many problems will come more and more? We are afraid of like that. If we solve this problem, problem one, who knows? After solving this problem one, problem two will come. Like this, we will be every time we will neglect the problem. Though we have a capacity to solve that problem, but we cannot solve. We will not solve that problem because due to the social fear. Then Indians are afraid of physical force like organized Gundaism that control people. Yes, this also exists in our society. There's an organized Gundaism. Because of this Gundaism only, people will listen to them. Because of this only, lot of politics is going on. This type of Gundaism, yes, do exist. This one, they only control all the forces. They only just influence everybody. They only create whatever they want. So they do exist. We suffer this type of activities due to this type of activities very much. Then Indians are afraid of the organized brute forces of dominating ones in the society. Yes, there's the organizations, there's the forces which dominate one another. So they will dominate. Yes, the religious groups or the caste groups or something, they will text, we are superior to you. And they will say, yes, I am the superior to you. Rather than I am, in the organized way, they will harm each other. They will just dominate each other. Yes, do exist that one also. That's a social fear. That Indians are afraid of harm of self and dear ones. Okay, every time if you have some courage to just raise your voice against some social evil, but you will have some social fear that if I just involve in this type of, if I just involve in raise my voice in public against this social evil, then you will have a fear that it will harm to yourself, or they can harm to somebody who is near to you or near and dear. So you will have that type of fear. Whatever we are seeing in the movies, they do exist. Okay, whenever you want to just raise your voice against some evil thing in our society, but you may be afraid. We may be afraid, not you or something. We may be afraid that yes, they will do something to you, or something to me, or something to our near and dears. So because of this, we are afraid of. Because of this, we are having a social fear into ourselves. So that fear is nothing but a social lack of social and courage. So if you don't have a social courage, there is a social fear which is going to dominate our society. Then our society will be in a big moral problem. Will be troubled with a big moral problem. So then next symptom is the social silence. So social silence. Okay, what is the social silence? So majority of people in our society are silent because of the social fear that pervades. Whatever we are going through, whatever the situations which are coming, going in and around us, we usually be remain in a silent mode because we don't have a courage. We have a social fear in ourselves. So this silence is the outcome of ignorance. Maybe the ignorance, so lack of moral judgment. We do not have a moral judgment that yes, that situation is going, whatever the situation is going, that's a correct or not. We will not morally just judge that one. And a critical awareness and courage to act. We don't have a courage, we don't have a awareness about that particular situation. Because of this, usually we will be remaining in a silent mode. Every time we will prefer the silent mode. This social silence is initiated and maintained at, usually at home also we will maintain that one. Whatever our elders are saying, we will blindly accept that one. Whether it is going to harm you or not, you are going to blindly accept that one. There's a sexual harassment for the small kids are going in and around the home also. But people will remain in silent. Why? Because there is a social silence, there's a social fear. If somebody within the family is sexually harassing some small kid, some girl, then you should, that girl needs to raise a voice against that person within the home. Okay, if you are facing that particular situation within the home, immediately you should raise your voice. So then we can say that you are not a social silent person. You are raising your voice, then only your problem will be solved. Then in schools, colleges, and other educational institutions, when something bad is happening in your college, when some professor or something a lecturer is doing against is acting against you, that is according to you, it is not correct, means you need to raise your voice. Why do you do this to me? What the wrong thing I have done? Because of that, you are punishing me. You need to question that one. Okay, when you have a courage, you have to question that one. Nobody has a right to destroy other person's life, whether he may be your lecturer, he may be your superior or anybody, but nobody has a right. You need to remember this one. Nobody has a right to destroy your career, to destroy you. So that's the thing. You need to have a social courage, then only your social silence will go in the absence. Then in office, industries, work sites, in the society at large, if you see, many superiors will act as a different persons in a different way. Many women face sexual harassment in the workplace, sexual harassment in the office industry, and everything. So then they need to raise a voice against that. So that's in the large in the society at large. This will be the social silence. So we need not to be remain in a social silence mode. Whenever there is some wrong is happening, you need to question that immediately. Okay, nobody is slave to anybody, nobody is inferior to everybody. Everybody has their own right, everybody has their own instinct, everybody has their own ability to perform everything. Nobody has a right to bully each other, nobody has a right to say that you are my slave or something. Okay, nobody has that right, nobody is inferior to anybody. Just think of this one. And therefore man is stifled. Even though there is the independence of a country, real freedom is yet to be achieved in the nation. That is, men and women are in bondage. Social silence is the indicator of this slavery. Whenever you are remaining in social silence, whenever you are not acting in a courageous way, whenever you are not raising your voice against some social evil things, then it will clearly be called as a slavery. That you are acting as a slave to other person who is committing a crime, who is committing a wrongdoing. So you are supporting them indirectly. Then you are automatically be called as a slave, or a slavery you are doing for them. Then the next one is a social indifference. Then what is this social indifference? Social desire or social fear or social silence, whatever these type of symptoms are there, they will make people dull and numb. So they will make people usually the dull. They are like a tree-tailed wasp, stinging and paralyzing people. They will paralyze each other. They will paralyze our society. Therefore, the suffering of people of different strata of human life become indifferent to social problems. Okay, whenever we are passing by the street, some elderly is just sleeping on the road. Whenever we are passing on the street, some accident has been happened. We are socially indifferent. That doesn't create any impact on our lives. We are just habituated with our phone, with our social media, with our social platforms and everything. Okay, Facebook, we are LinkedIn, everything. We are habituated with them. We have our own life. We have our own ways to entertain and everything. We are not at all concerned about others. So that is called as a social indifference. What is going to happen? What is going on when you are just passing on the road? When you are just passing on some subway? Everything you need to critically observe that one. What is they are going? What what is the situation that the particular people is experiencing? You need to have some concern. Then there is no threat of this social indifference. That type of people who are not at all concerned about others will usually be involved in the social indifference. So whatever is going to happen in and around them, they will not show any attention towards that one. They are busy with their own life. They are busy with their own sociable ways. They are busy with their own entertainment. So that does not mean that you should be remain in the social indifference mode. Every time you need to be active, every time you need to be critically analyze the situation which you are passing through. Then people talk of it in vague and general terms. Okay, in the social difference, in the social way, if some gossips are going, usually we will talk some person suffering as our gossip to entertain ourselves. We will talk as a gossip, that one. Okay, somebody some person is just experiencing this thing or something, we will talk that as a gossip. So that's not a good thing. We need to show some concern. That doesn't mean that you are gossiping. Your gossiping means you are talking about that you are critically analyzing that. You need not think that you are gossiping because you are not concerned about that person. You are not for your own entertainment only. You're just gossiping about the topic, not to analyze critically about the topic. If you are truly concerned to, if you are truly want to critically analyze the topic, analyze individually first. Then you need to analyze with a group of similar thinking person, okay, who are having a similar thought process. Then a solution will come for the particular problem. In the gossiping way, you are just spreading a rumor. You are increasing the uh, uh, um, social silence. You are increasing the social fear, and everything you are increasing by gossiping. You need not to have that gossiping attitude into you, but they do not respond. Okay, when you are gossiping, you are gossiping about to entertain yourself and to entertain your own friends, not about to solve the problem. So as people say, they turn their face from their societal situation and spend in temporary distractions like eating, drinking, entertaining individually or in company. We have our own ways to entertain, we have our own ways to live ourselves, but that doesn't mean that we should be remaining in a social indifferent mode. So when you have all these four symptoms, like social silence, social fear, uh, social silence, social fear, and social desire, all this fear will make up a moral problem in our society. A big problem will be coming to destroy our human society. That moral problem is nothing but every human society is collectively responsible for the growth of each individual. Everybody is responsible. Everybody is not independent. Everybody is interdependent in our society. So everybody has a clear role to play in our society. Whatever the role they are playing, they are going to influence. They are going to impact the one each other. So that's we need to understand that one. When such a society is suffering from social desire, social silence, social indifference, the atmosphere is immoral. So there is morality is not at all there. When there is a symptoms like social desire, social fear, silence, indifference, everything is there. There is no atmosphere of morality there. So we are immoral. Okay, we are not analyzing with a moral, good moral attitude. That thing. So that is human being or not helped to become more human. We are not at all going towards the humanity. We are going towards the subhuman category. We are like behaving like animals. Rather, they are converted into subhuman animals or inhuman missions. So missions do not have emotions. Subhumans do not have a thinking process, a thought process. They do not have, but they do have emotions. But they do not have a thought process. The blessing which the God has given us is a thinking process, thought process. We do have emotions. We do have. We can use this emotion and thought process for the benefits of our society. So therefore, the condition are not morally helpful. When you are just avoiding all the things, which is making a social indifference, which is making a social desire, which is having a social silence, indifference, and everything, so that society will be called as a immoral society. That type of society, people will do not have any moral attitude. That type of society will be going towards the destruction. So in other words, we are facing a serious moral problem in our society, whatever today we are facing. So that's a moral problem. Then good social values are helpful to find solution to social problems. When you understand the problem, then only you can apply your social values. When you don't understand a problem, you cannot apply your social values, then the solution for the problem is not going to come out. When such good values are accepted by people of a society, activities will be initiated accordingly. Then if you have a good values, you can suggest a good values to solve some social problem. When somebody else is accepting, that's make up a society. Then society is going to find out a solution for that particular moral problem. Then in a simple approach, a social problem is identified and analyzed after an experience critically. So first, whenever somebody is saying about their suffering, you need to critically analyze that one. You need to when you are critically analyzing that one, you can participate. You can take a role of them in that particular problem. Then only you can find a solution critically. So that's the attitude as educated personalities, as educated persons, as a degree holders or something. We need to be somewhat critically analyzing. We need to imbibe in ourselves the attitude of critical thinking. Then if you think critically, you can solve many problems in our society. Then you will be differentiated from the rest of the world, rest of the persons who are not at all educated. Educated for the benefit of our society, we need to use our education. So for better reflection and solution, you need to participate in NSS camps, okay, National Service camps. I just request you, many of you can participate in the NSS camp whenever the physical classes or the physical college has been opened, so that you can understand the sufferings. You can just experience this various sufferings which people are going through. Then only you can understand, you can critically think about many people, then only you can act accordingly. So that's a better part. If you involve in some service camp, then you can do service, you can learn many things, you can you come to know what are the problems which are facing in our present society, what type of your values you need to apply to solve that problems. Then only you can be differentiated with a uneducated person. Uneducated person can do many things, but they don't have that critical thinking habit. But as an educated person, you can have that thought process, you can have that critical thinking ability, because you are already in a stage of graduation, you are already registered for a degree. So that means that you are somewhat, your thought process is somewhat superior to others. You need to differentiate, you need to uh, differentiate yourself from the others. Then only the true value of yourself will be coming out. That's what this unit 3 is about. Okay, one day we will plan to just discuss about this topic. Okay, I need everybody's participation in that one. So before that, you just use your web search and everything. Just come to know what is the love, what is the money, what do we prefer much, whether we need to prefer love, whether we need to prefer money much in order to get a happiness as a life of goal. You just gather your thoughts for the next two couple of classes. We'll just undergo this one, we'll just discuss these topics. So before that, I will just give you a glimpse of the unit 3. Okay, what we are going to learn in the unit 3, everything I will just show you a glimpse of the syllabus only. So the unit 4 is nothing but a transformation of yourself, or transformation of our life, from the various identifying. We need to identify before transformation. We need to identify ourselves. That is nothing but a self identity. Then that self identity will define our own personality. Okay, whatever we are behaving, whatever we are showing our aptitude to outside, that will define our personality. Personality doesn't mean that it is only about our built structure and everything. Which is also our inner dynamic characteristic. So that's called as a personality. What is the traits of a true personality? How can you improve yourself? How can you just face your troubles, just face your suffering and everything, that we are going to discuss in unit 4. So that is transformation of self, or transformation of our lives. So you need to have every time, as we can do attitude this one. So in the transformation of self, the contents involved are this one. Unit title is a transformation of self, and we need to have a definition of a personality. What is the definition of personality? Whether it's a physical structure, whether it's our built structure, or whether it can be a different dynamic personality, different dynamic attitude which is lying inside us. That is also the meaning of personality or not. We are going to discuss that one. Then the characteristics of personality. What are the ideal characteristics? Okay, the personality. How can we improve our personality? We have to discuss this one. Then elements and characteristics will obviously come in the same category. Characteristics and elements of a personality. It's a single topic. Then traits of a good personality. What is the good personality? What type of behavior that a good personality people will possess? So how can we mold ourselves? That we are going to discuss. Then the next one is, we need to identify ourselves. We need to identify our own attitude, where we are being in our society. Then self concept. What is the self concept? We have seen a small glimpse in the previous unit. What is ourself? How we are related to others and everything. That is going to just impact in this unit. Then the self discovery. So what is your role in this society? What is your role in this life? What is the purpose of your life? Everything we are going to discuss in self discovery. And self acceptance. So whatever the shortfallings, whatever the weaknesses are there in you, you need to accept every weakness, and you just come out with a strong working plan, so that you can convert your weakness towards your strongest point. So that's your molding characteristics. You are molded towards the towards your good personality. Then self esteem, how can you develop your self esteem? Okay, how can you develop your courage? So that's we are going to discuss in the unit 4. Then the prescribed book for this unit 4 and 5 is Human Values by All India Association of Christian Higher Education. So AIACHE, which is from New Delhi. So this is a prescribed book. I have already given in the teams this book, unit 4 and unit 4 and unit 5. I have just uploaded this one. You just check in the teams itself. Teams is not coming. Okay, you just go to the teams and check the unit 3, unit 4 and unit 5. I have uploaded the material for this one from the scanned copy of that material, so that you can just revise and come to the class. So that's what today.